And away we go. It's the DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com, brought to you in part by Yahoo DFS. Check out their DFS offerings. Fridays or the rake-free $3 management fee-free, whatever you want to call it, tournaments. And you have NFL around the corner. We'll get to more of that later on. Dan Strafford, Dave Lockren along with you on this Wednesday morning. Don't have much of an early slate, so we're going to talk about the late slate mainly here. See what I did there. But I haven't talked to you since. How the hell was the wedding, Dave?
Good, man. It was good. Everything went well. You heard the story, right?
I haven't heard any stories.
The priest apparently developed Alzheimer's hours before the wedding and forgot he was at a wedding and forgot who we were.
No.
During the ceremony.
No, I have not.
I don't know if he had a mini stroke. I don't know what it was. We saw him a couple months ago. Sharp as a tack.
Yep.
I walked down the aisle with my groomsmen. He says, "What am I doing? What am I supposed to do? Where do I go?" I said, "You're joking, right?" Looked at him straight in the fucking eyes. I said, "You're joking, right?" And he gave me a wink. And it's my best man's like, "Yeah, he's joking." I was like, "He better be joking." Justine walks down. Everything's beautiful. She looks great. He asks her, "What am I doing?" Tries to pull out the microphone, box. And she's like, "Wait, he's not kidding."
Oh my God.
Where he was. He did not know where he was. I'll have to send you the video. I improvised like I was on a Hollywood set. Beautiful thing. But I'm not kidding either, dude. But remind me to show you sometime. It's outrageous.
Oh man,
I'll even post it on Twitter.
I'm just really happy that Bob came through for me. I didn't think if I paid him that much, he would do it. But that's
what an asshole.
It ended up happening. And he's legally ordained to actually marry you, right? Like there's no stipulation that
we just got the stuff. We just got it today.
So,
we're officially married. That was a concern.
Yeah.
Was a concern.
I mean, the whole
dude, he had done many, many weddings.
The whole sound mind.
He's a priest who had actually left the church. Like he got married, but he could still do weddings.
Yep. He was ordained. Yeah.
He was ordained. Yeah. So he came dressed in all the garb and everything.
I mean, hell, I performed a wedding in Pennsylvania, so.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
How about that? We didn't want people to have to drive from a church an hour to the reception hall. So, little did we know that was a big mistake.
Oh, man.
But his wife comes walking down the aisle and puts the paper in front of him. Thank God he was still literate. And she goes, "He did one last night, went off without a hitch." So it was just, our luck.
But
I will tell you this one. The wedding was phenomenal. I had the greatest time of my life. It made me not regret spending all that money. Leading up to it, I'm like, I'm doing all this shit for 5 hours.
Yep.
And then I'm calculating how much it costs per hour. And if I were
minute
to call
at that point, yeah.
If I were to call the photographer and tell him I was having a birthday party, he'd charge me a couple $100.
Right.
But let him mark me up 10 times. But we had a 10-piece band that's friends with Justine's stepdad, and they crushed it, dude. And they did it for nothing. So
that's awesome.
It was ultimately a really good time, but it definitely, all is well that ends well, but not that starts well. Let me tell you, it did not start well.
Well, you have a story to tell. The kids, the grandkids, that's going to be one that probably lives on in Lockren lore for a long, long time.
Oh yeah, so. It'll be a story. And it's like how they say if a bird shits on you, it's good luck, or if it rains on your wedding day, it's good luck. They just say that.
Right. To make you feel better.
Become suicide. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Listen, if the priest forgets where he is, that's the best luck of all. Like that.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Son, I don't know where I am. Neither do you. You should run. Just get back down the aisle. Oh, well, glad to hear it went well. Glad to have you back. And that'll be a story. I will need to see the video. That's going to be
I'll show you the video for sure.
That's going to be a good watch at some point in the future.
I got you.
We have an 11-game main slate on Wednesday night. This is the time of year where the MLB schedule just gets funky. We get Saturday slates that are weird. We get Wednesdays and Thursdays that are strange. So we're going to dive through pitching here pretty quickly, as we do here on the DFS Early Bird. We're going to walk you through top options and take a look at some of the top stacks of the day, because you have so much content available during the day over at Awesemo.com. This is just sort of wetting the whistle for the day. You get the MLB strategy show on YouTube. You get Dave's deep dive article on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then you get the deeper dive, Adam and Dave and Alex at times, and then you get live before lock on YouTube as well. Subscribe, like, comment, hit that alarm bell, make sure you are ready for each and every video we have coming out, Four Corners from Spags, and so much more that comes out each and every day. So let's dive in. You have some talented pitchers on this slate on Wednesday. I'll pull up some odds momentarily. I have DK and FanDuel open. I'll pull up Yahoo momentarily as well. But we have some high-flying talent that has been great to us on the year. A couple of them in pretty good spots, but Scherzer has said a couple times he's not going to be able to reach back and really throw as hard as he had expected because of the back issues he's been having. That has to play into some sort of calculation here, but we have Cole at 12-2, Scherzer at 11 flat, Syndergaard against the Cubs at 10-4, and then we get sub 10K. So let's take those three first. Any of these in spots where you feel like cash games, GPPs, they're at least warranted to be highly owned, or do you feel like there's enough question marks between the Cubs offense being too good, Tampa Bay being a patient team, that maybe the price points are too high on Cole, Scherzer, and Syndergaard?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Cole, he's just that good.
He really is.
You know what I mean? And there aren't that many players in this league that we say that about. There aren't that many pitchers, I should say, where we're just like, okay, they're that good. If you want to play them, play them. Let me give you an example. Justin Verlander. He did not have a great start yesterday. He went five in the third, scoreless, but only struck out 4. Nevertheless, he is still one of those guys where you kind of just play him and you feel okay about it. Garrett Cole, to even go take it even a step further, he has been so good that I would happily deploy Garrett Cole in this spot. It's just a matter of how comfortable are you paying that much for him, because it is a Coors slate with Peter Lambert on the mound for Colorado, and I can't imagine that ends well for him. So, I mean, that's really the biggest thing for me, right, is what are you going to do with bats? And Eduardo Rodriguez is on the mound. I'm jumping around a bit here for Boston.
Yeah, you are.
So it's not an easy start, but Arenado and Story, and if you look at a lot of these price points, they've come down a bunch because they're facing a decent pitcher. So I think just based on the fact that it's at Coors, these like low 5K Colorado bats are also very impressive and guys that I'm going to want to get a piece of. So that means that Garrett Cole might not necessarily be the guy to play. Unless, we'll talk about some top stacks. I'll have the deep dive, as you mentioned, the deeper dive. We have the strategy show. There's going to be a whole lot to supplement this early bird. But Syndergaard, I don't really want to pay for him. What are your thoughts quickly on Scherzer? You just talked about the fact that he might not be at 100% yet. What do you think as far as pitch count goes? He threw 71 pitches last time out. I mean, this would be the top play by a mile if we felt confident in his ability to go out there and do what he normally does.
Here's the thing with the Nats. They're trying to get into the playoffs. And when they're there, they want Scherzer to be healthy. So this feels like an 85 to 90 pitch outing. And Scherzer at 85 to 90 is worth pretty much the rest of the league at 100 to 110. I don't doubt that. But if he's saying flat out that he doesn't feel as though he can reach back and get that extra, that's enough of a concern for mine at this price point. If Scherzer was 10K flat or even sub 10K because of the injury and because of what he said, then I could see it. I think for me, from a GPP perspective, it comes down to ownership. If enough people are off of Scherzer because of pitch count and because of this injury, then I have no problem going to him and seeing the upside in what he can do. If he's going to be somewhat highly owned because of the matchup, I don't mind staying away thinking that this won't be a ceiling game, right? So at 11K, if I don't get, 40 plus from him, 37 plus from him, I'm in the clear of not having the top play there. So Scherzer's fine. I get why people will go to him. I think the matchup's fine. Yes, coach speak and pitcher speak can be overblown when they're talking about injuries, but this doesn't feel like a spot where they're just going to let him run out there and throw 110 pitches and have 15, 20 strikeouts. This feels like a management game. Get him through 6 innings, get him through 5 2/3, and then get him out. So I probably stay away.
I don't disagree. And maybe he could throw 85 pitches and have like an amazing 7-inning start against a bad team.
He could go Maddox. Like, you could get a Maddox outing from him. Sure.
At that price, it's just tough. I mean, honestly, I think you could take a look at someone like Jake Odorizzi. I don't think there's a bad play at all. He's striking lefties out 27% of the time. The power numbers this season, he's allowing nothing to righties, a little bit to lefties, but that's to be expected for someone facing opposite-handed hitters. Like, the strikeout stuff is good, 12% swinging strike rate. I like what I'm seeing from Odorizzi. He's not phenomenal. He's probably a little bit overpriced, but so is Syndergaard. And he's got a much more difficult matchup. So if we're talking Syndergaard or Hendricks, who really doesn't offer a ton of strikeout upside, or Odorizzi, I would go Odorizzi here above 9K.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The White Sox.
Behind Garrett Cole, of course.
Yeah, I think that's right. You have the White Sox at 25.5% K percentage, just 5.5% walk percentage. And I think that matters here. Not to say that it's a one-to-one comparison, but Odorizzi at times struggles with the walk. This is a team that chases. This is a team that goes out and swings and does not hesitate to be aggressive. So I like Odorizzi a lot at 9.4. And Hendricks is just a guy that I know you and Manny used to argue a bit about him in the past. Manny Laura over there on his own streams on Twitch and the like, and obviously your co-host on Sirius. But at 9.1, it's just too high a price point for me, somebody who doesn't have a high strikeout upside. And against a team that's pretty solid. The Mets have enough offense. I know they've struggled a little bit over the past couple of games, but enough offense here to do damage. In the mid-tier, you mentioned Rodriguez is in Colorado. You have Tanner Roark against Kansas City. That seems like a spot that I probably need to understand a little bit better. I'm not a huge Roark fan, but Kansas City has struggled a decent amount on the year and is a team that maybe doesn't strike out a ton, but also doesn't pose a big of an offensive threat. So he might have some bit of upside. You have Kenta Maeda against San Diego, who strikes out a decent bit. And then you have somebody like Anthony DeSclafani in Miami against the Marlins. Is that enough upside at 7,800 for you to roll out somebody like that Cincinnati right-hander?
It's not a crazy idea. And one of the biggest reasons for that is, what are DeSclafani's weaknesses? What are his strengths? Well, if you know anything about this guy, he's terrible against lefties. I mean, it's brutal. And that has been the case this season. A ton of power allowed, no question. Righties, though, he strikes them out at a 26% clip. The 146 ISO is pretty solid. 3.2 xFIP against them this season. Those are good numbers, man. I think at this price, you would generally see him more expensive because DraftKings loves to price up anyone facing the Miami Marlins.
That's right. Yep.
Right, but he's totally in play to me. Kenta Maeda, it's a tough one. Because the pitches have been limited, but I do think he's inexpensive enough now just because there's a lot of strikeouts. You could see him go, 5 2/3 innings, 6 innings with 8 strikeouts. I'm not opposed to rostering Maeda here either. So I'm not going Yarbrough or Rourke or Erod, but Maeda and DeSclafani are actually two really appealing options. DeSclafani more so for the matchup and the fact that, Dave Roberts isn't his manager.
Right.
To be fair, though, he hasn't gone super deep either when it comes to a pitch count. Both of them have concerns there, but both of them have excellent strikeout matchups and upside, surprisingly, in this spot at pretty decent price points.
The mid-tier, I think, actually gives us more than I expected when I first started looking at this slate. We do have Mike Foltynewicz against Toronto. Foltynewicz coming off a very solid start against the Mets. 1 game sample size, I get it, but this is also a Blue Jays team that strikes out a decent amount. The 25.6% on the year. Again, active roster. Take into consideration that Biggio and Guerrero and Bichette are all new to the team, but talking about active roster, talking about what they have there now. These are youngsters who do chase a bit. And then I'll point out that Aaron Savell has a matchup. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll look it up momentarily. But a matchup with the Detroit Tigers, which has been a team we've targeted time and time again. They lead the majors in K percentage against righties. They have no power. They have no run production. And he's been pretty damn solid on the year. Low ERA, low whip. He keeps the ball in play. Does have a bit of strikeout upside, maybe hitting 7 or 8 Ks in a game. I feel like this mid-tier between Foltynewicz and Savell gives us just enough. Do you see them as potential options here in the mid-tier?
Yeah, this is kind of tough. Well, I mean, I can tell you a lot of these guys were just not playing, right? So we don't even need to talk. Let's just get it out of the way. Like Sandoval, he is a lefty, and I love lefties against Texas, but there's really no reason to go there. Uh, a couple of others here that you're just not rostering. Knicks, Junis, not a good strikeout matchup. Saval or Savali, however you pronounce it, is kind of interesting. And, obviously the biggest thing is what are we doing as far as matchup? And is he decent enough? Well, let's see. With the Indians this season, he's made 5 starts, I think. Yeah, 5 starts. His strikeout rate is almost 22%. It was 26% at AAA. Those aren't great numbers, but honestly, at this price in this matchup, I'm really not opposed to it. I think you're probably right. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if he was kind of chalky. Here's another thing that's pretty fascinating. He's gone 6 innings in 6 exactly in 4 of 5 starts. The other, he went 5 2/3. So that's really not bad. He hasn't thrown more than 95 pitches, but he isn't expensive. Detroit's the type of team that'll keep a pitcher from laboring through long innings. No, I think you're absolutely right. And he's also, allowed 2 or fewer runs in all of these games. It's a small sample, understandably, but he never allowed a lot of power. His strikeout rate at AAA was good enough. It was almost 10 Ks per 9, 26% strikeouts, and he very much limited walks. So he should be able to work pretty short innings. I'm with you here. Pitching's really fascinating on this slate, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, of the guys that we talked about that we like, I wouldn't be surprised to see, ownership really concentrated heavily between maybe 5 pitchers on this slate.
That makes sense. Do you have any thoughts on Foltynewicz? I mean, this is a guy that was over his skis last year in production, seemed a lot better than he actually was when you look at advanced metrics. A lot of things pointed to him having a regressed year this year, if that's a proper use of the word regressed. But it seemed as though he was going to have a pullback year when it came to season-long fantasy or even DFS. Last game out, though, and since he's been called back up from the minor leagues, has seemed to have things better aligned to the Foltynewicz we saw last year. Do you like him here against Toronto at 7,400?
I like other pitchers more.
Got it.
I don't have an issue with Folty. I think he's a very reasonable option here, but I've seen a lot more bad than good from him this season. And while Toronto's no juggernaut at the plate, they're also not the Detroit Tigers.
Correct.
They're not the Miami Marlins. So what I would say is when you're talking about Cole and Odorizzi and DeSclafani and Maeda, and I'll even throw Savali in there, I would put Folty right behind them. And honestly, those are the only of all of those pitchers those are the only ones that I'm interested in today.
I will say that over on Yahoo, Scherzer is 63, Cole is 60. So you're talking about nearly 1/3 of your budget going to one pitcher there between those 2 starters. $200 budget on Yahoo. Scherzer and Cole. Syndergaard down to 45. Odorizzi's 42. So on himself, you might say, it's a little expensive, but comparatively to the top end, makes some sense. $40 for Aaron Saval. And again, Baseball Reference not giving me a pronunciation, so I'm going to be writing Baseball Reference after the podcast and get pissed off at them. But he is from Northeastern, so he's a Boston, Northeastern in Boston. So we have some sort of connection here between myself and Aaron. Anthony DeSclafani is at 37, Foltynewicz at 33, and then you get really cheap with Irado and Alcantara. Though I will say Patrick Sandoval, not Pablo, but Patrick Sandoval is $28 on Yahoo. So to your point on DK, I agree with you completely. On Yahoo, feels like a different story where he may at least be in play as an SP2.
Yeah. It's sorry, I was looking up Aaron Savali's name.
It's not a Baseball Reference. They're failing us late in the season.
I mean, I was looking up YouTube.
Waiting for someone to like highlights. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, but no luck.
No luck. All right, we'll find it.
No luck. Let's see here. Here we go. Major League debut, Aaron Savali. There we go.
Nailed it.
I'm 1 for 1.
You're 1 for 1. Present tense. That's all that matters. So on Yahoo, though, Dave, to reiterate, Patrick Sandoval is just $28. So you mentioned lefties against Texas. Probably don't want to go there on DK at the price point, but $28 cheap enough, it feels like, on Yahoo to at least have some consideration as an SB2.
Is there anyone, I don't have Yahoo pulled up, is there anyone priced around him that we've talked about that would make more sense? If not, then yeah, I can understand.
No, I mean, Wojciechowski is 25, Lambert's 25, Urado is 28, Fulton Nevich is 33, Anthony DeSclafani is the closest that we've talked about from a positive light at 37. Any before we close out pitching, and then we'll get to batting, and we'll close this out. Alcantara. Any interest in Alcantara in Miami Park, Marlins Park, I should say? 6,800 on DK, cheap on Yahoo as well. Get Cincinnati, a guy that we've had some upside from in the past. The Reds, 25.2% K percentage against righties. Does Alcantara at least sort of slip in as a potential SB2?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with Alcantara. Again, it's just who am I playing him ahead of? If you're playing 150 lineups, my guess is that he's going to be in a decent amount of lineups. But he's not, super cheap. And once again, I think from a depth standpoint, you could just do a little bit better. There are some better options here. But no, here a couple of things. It is a good park. Cincinnati's not a good team. And just pulling it up here, if I recall correctly, they're actually striking out quite a bit more against righties than they were earlier in the season. Yeah, they have the 6th highest K rate on their active roster and an 89 WRC plus, which ranks a underwhelming 24th in baseball. So it's not a crazy idea at all. And just kind of to recap, obviously we don't have ownership or anything like that yet. We're just looking at this as a foundational spot to kind of break ground on this Wednesday slate. Garrett Cole, Odorizzi, we both agreed that if Scherzer wasn't limited, he'd be our favorite option on the slate. Maeda is risky, but I do think there's upside. DeSclafani against Miami is reasonably priced below 8K. Savale, and then you mentioned Fulte. And yeah, I think Alcantara would be the last guy you throw in there. Wojciechowski, I'm not interested in. Zimmerman, definitely not Detweiler. I love Minnesota, though.
Yeah.
Love Boston against Colorado. So, all of those guys stand out or all of those teams stand out as nice stacks. And I will throw in, Erod is a very good pitcher, but there are some righties on this Rockies team that can just do, unspeakable damage to lefties. And their prices, as I mentioned at the top of the show, are down from where they were, which definitely makes it more interesting.
Yep. I will say plus one, or whatever phrase we want to use for the Minnesota Twins against Detweiler. That just seems like a prime spot for the Twins to have a gigantic offensive output. What other offenses do stand out to you? You mentioned Boston. Anybody else that maybe off the beaten path a little bit, or someone that you think has some upside here on this Wednesday slate?
The ones I just named specifically are the ones that I feel best about.
Yep.
Let's see here. Angels against Ariel Urado is interesting. He actually hasn't been unbelievably bad, but you know what? No, he's been pretty rough. Yeah, it's been a rough go for Urado. I thought he'd been a little bit better than that. I really like Minnesota though. And let's not forget about this Cleveland Indians team. They beat up righties pretty good. They can get super heavy from the left side of the plate. I think Cleveland, while I'd love for this to be in Cleveland against Zimmerman is a really, really favorable spot. Do you have, while I look up pricing here, like Lindor's below 5K, and it looks like, because we know Jose Ramirez is out until maybe the playoffs, or actually into the playoffs.
5 to 7 weeks.
Yeah. Most of these guys are pretty cheap. So I kind of like that, or at least affordable. What is the implied total for Cleveland? You have it yet pulled up?
I don't have team totals. I have total overall. It's minus 180, 9.5 over under in that contest. So probably 4-9. No, is that right? 4-9 to 4-5, or 5-1 to 4-3. Yeah, probably 5-1 or 5-3 for the Indians would be my guess.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I have it right here, by the way. Just pulling it up right now.
Yep.
Let's see if it's actually up updated yet. No, it's not updated yet, unfortunately. Nope, never mind.
All right. Well, I think that covers off on at least a starting point for everybody listening. As always, we appreciate you listening. You can use the promo code EARLYBIRD, one word. Get yourself 50% off your first month at awesemo.com. And listen, not to shill, but I'm going to show a little bit. We have a ton of preseason and regular season-long fantasy football content available. Dave's been heavily involved in that. That is all free. So that's all free in front of the paywall. But what comes down to brass tacks when it comes to NFL season, projections, ownership projections, and Fantasy Cruncher add-on, the lineup builder, that's all behind the paywall. So if you want to be involved in that, involved in the premium articles, Awesemo Plus, you'll want to sign up now, get in, become a member, you get into Slack chat, be able to bounce some ideas off of fellow members, but also you get to DM Adam directly. You can just add Ship My Money DFS, and especially about football. I mean, he'd be psyched to talk to anybody about some NFL lineups. But NBA right around the corner, great lineup there as always. You get Dave, you get Adam, you get the rest of the cast of characters when it comes to NBA. So you're going to have so much content there as well. So much coming down the pike at awesemo.com. So get on board now. You find Dave on Twitter at Lofty_D, LOUGHY_D. You find him on SiriusXM, Sirius 210, XM87. Every Saturday and Sunday, that's with Manny Laura, Dave's second favorite co-host of all time. And of course, you can be on Twitter at Dan Strafford, Awesemo_com, Awesemo NFL, Awesemo MLB for all of our content. Giveaways happening all the time. The social guys who work for Awesemo do a lot of heavy lifting. So you'll want to check out that content as well. With that said, we wish you the best of luck on Wednesday. You get the early bird Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then Monday, we're back with you through baseball season and ready to rock and roll each and every day. Thanks so much for listening to the DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com.